Hi and welcome to another card making video, and today I'm going to share a really fun card making recipe that can be used for a mixed media vibe on a card. And I'm starting by showing you how I cut my paper. I had here 2 letter-sized white cardstock and I just cut it in half longwise, so that was 5.5. Now I'm going to cut 2 of those pieces in half again, so this is at 4.25, and I end up with 2 panels, and I'm going to do that with the other piece, again 4.25, and I end up with another 2 pieces. These are the panels that I like to work on for my cards. Now I do have the other 2 pieces, which I'm just going to score at half again, this time at 4.25 with my scoring board. And this is a process that I do and mass produce this type of side folding cards as well as panels, so that I always have them in hand in a drawer when I want to create a card. I'm using my bone folder to score those cards in half, and now from 2 pieces of letter-sized cardstock I end up with 2 folded cards and 4 panels. The panels are the exact same sizes as my card bases. However, if you want, you can cut them a little bit smaller so that you end up with a little border when you stick them on top. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to cut out 1/2 inch from each side. So this is going to end up in being a panel of 4.75 by 5. I usually create the whole composition on top of those panels and then just stick them on my pre-folded card bases. And I always like them to be slightly smaller to end up with that lovely border, because I feel like it finishes the card beautifully. Now this is the only ways that you have from cutting this way your letter-sized cardstock. However, this is not really a waste. You can definitely use them to stamp your sentiments and use them on top of your cards as sentiment strips. So let's create the first card. I have 2 dye ink pad colors here and my 2 blending brushes, and I will be working on the first panel. I'm going to mix the 2 colors, making sure that I leave one corner kind of white. So I'm going to create an ombre effect from color to white. These brushes help me do that because they apply color very softly, very lightly, and they blend the colors beautifully. So you will see that I will have a seamless ombre look with no effort at all. I started with turquoise and I blended from one corner, and now I'm going to blend in the blue color, and this is cerulean blue. And these colors blend beautifully together. Now to get this ombre effect from color to white, make sure that you don't press the brush at all, just slide it over the paper and you have a beautiful background in no time. I'm happy with the blending on the background, and let's move on and add some extra steps to give this project a more mixed media vibe. So I'm bringing in one of my stencils, and this is from my latest collection, one of my favorites for sure, and I'm going to blend in very lightly some of the inks that I already have on my table. I'm not introducing any new color since I don't want to turn this background into being very vibrant. So very softly blend in those 2 colors that we already have for a tone-on-tone look. Now I'm going to do some stamping on my background, and I'm using the text from another one of my latest stamp sets, and this is going to provide just the visual texture that we are going for. It's not meant to be read. That's why you are not going for perfection. I'm not using a stamping block. I'm just using my fingers and I'm randomly stamping here and there. Again, using the same colors that I have on my table, not introducing any new color, again for getting a very subtle look and feel on my background. I don't want the colors of the background to compete with the composition that I'm going to add later on top. Now the colors on the background that I used are dye inks, which means that they react with water, so you can splatter water if you like and blot it to get that ghost effect, or you can swipe a little bit on your glass mat and then with some water dilute it and add some splatters, which is what I'm doing here. I always love splatters on a mixed media background. It adds that extra something. Use any of the two colors that we used for the background to do the splatters. Here I did use the turquoise one, but anyone would work since we already have those colors on our background. And here's a close-up look on what we have up to now. I'm super happy with it, so let's work on the focal points. For my focal points, I'm going to create a cluster using ephemeras. This is one of the 2 packs from my Welcome Home collection, and it comes with a bunch of different images that you can mix and match to create clusters. So you will find here pots, you will find houses, teacups, flowers that you can all mix and match and put together. You will find an adorable ladder. So there are so many different ideas on how you can put this together. I have tons of videos for art journaling or tags or any other mixed media projects already posted on my blog and YouTube, and you can mix and match and create something similar on top of a card if you like. So for today, I'm going with 2 of the vases from this pack, the lavender, along with a few of the flowers. Now I'm using my craft knife and I'm going to create a little slit. By the way, the ephemeras are cardstock, so they are nice and sturdy, however they are not too thick and you can easily cut them through with your craft knife. And you can see here I can add the bunch of lavender inside my vase and it looks absolutely beautiful. Now keep in mind that all the ephemeras are self-adhesive, so you can peel off the backing and stick them down. However, that's not what I'm going to do. For my card I want to add some dimension, that's why at the back I'm going to add some foam tape. This way I will pop it on top of my card and being able to do other things underneath, to tag other elements behind that one. Again, keep in mind this is quite thick, so it's nice and sturdy. Even if you pop it, it's not going to look flimsy at all. It is cardstock after all. As you stick it down, if some of the images go outside of the panel, it's not an issue. Remember, this panel is smaller than the actual card. Now I'm going to stick the other vase just next to it, again having foam tape at the back. And I'm going to embellish the top with a couple of flowers. Now keep in mind that you have big choice of flowers in the pack, so you can audition, decide what you like and what not. You can go with bigger flowers, with smaller flowers. So here I decided to go with this lovely flower with a couple of leaves, and then on the other side I'm just going to stick a little pink flower to complete the composition, and I'm just tucking it underneath the bigger one. Now for the fun of it and to add a different texture, let's bring in the decorative chips. These are my decorative chips from the same collection, Create Happiness, and I'm going to use the one with the bike. I will only use the top part where you see those leaves. Now this is laser cut paper, thick paper however, that you can color, you can emboss if you like, and it always adds that extra something, a little fun detail on a project. At the same time, it's not that thick, so it's perfect for the top of a card. Now the design that I'm going for is very delicate. If you rip it apart as you try to separate it, don't worry about it. After all, I'm going to use bits and pieces here and there and not the whole design as it is. So here you see I'm just ripping apart the leaves, and for the flower I'm just going to use a little piece of it. And then I'm just going to glue them down. I'm using for that my matte media glue, so no matter how messy I am with that glue, it's not going to show at all at the end. And you see it is really easy for me to tuck things underneath my main composition since I did use foam tape in the beginning. So let's place the last piece of the decorative chips. And my project is pretty much finished. What I need to do is to add a sentiment, since this is a card. So in my 12 by 12 Welcome Home scrapbooking pad, you will find this page which is full of lovely sentiments that you can use on your cards. And you can use them as they are. They do already have a shape like a label, so you can just cut it out and stick it on your project. Or if you're like me, you can cut them apart completely and just separate the words. Now for both my cards today, I'm going to show you both ways. One where I separate completely the phrases like this one, and on the next card I'm just going to use the label as it is. Now I'm sticking them down by using my glue, but you can definitely use some foam tape and pop them on top of your card if you like. Another thing that I like to do on my mixed media looking projects is to go around and outline with a very thin black marker those phrases. This is completely optional and only if you like the look. Don't try to be perfect, just sketchy lines will do. And let's add the finishing touch, this time by using ribbons. I'm going to pick from these ribbons the little bird and I'm going to have him sit on top of one of the phrases, of the sentiments. You can definitely play with the butterflies if you like, everything matches perfectly because they are from the same collection, so the colors are going to complement the card no matter which one you choose to go with. Now about ribbons, I have to give you two tips. The first one is that you need to cut out the image that you are going to play with. Make sure to do that, you don't want to waste the rest of them. And the next tip is to make sure that the background is completely dry. If you did ink blending, you need to make sure that the ink is dry, otherwise it's not going to stick. And then finally I'm going to stick the panel on top of my card base, try to align it as perfectly as possible, leaving that lovely white border all around. And again I did use foam tape for that, so it is nicely popped on top of my card. And here is a close-up look on the first card for today. And let's go ahead and create a second card using the exact same recipe, same techniques, same order, so you will be able to see that you can recreate this idea again and again with completely different looks. So again, I'm starting on my panel and I'm going to ink blend two colors again, but a different color combination of course. And instead of having the white area here, I'm going to have it on another corner. Just for the fun of it, just switch up things and you will have a completely different look. So again, with my blending brush, I'm starting from the corner. The color I'm using here is raspberry. I like to apply a very soft application of the color and build up the layers as I go. And again, the brush allows for a very soft blending, you see how smooth it is. And let's switch colors, I'm going to go with cream. Now this color doesn't seem as much, but it is probably my favorite from the whole collection of my dye inks, because it is the perfect color to match with anything. It's also a color that you can lightly blend on top of a super bright white area if you want to get rid of it. And also you can stamp your images with it if you don't want to have a black outline and just color inside. It is going to completely disappear if you do that, for no line coloring. So you see how beautiful they blend together, completely seamless blending between those two colors, super smooth. And let's move on and do the same steps that we did, the same techniques that we did for the first card. So first a little bit of stenciling. Again I'm using one of the stencils from my latest collection, Welcome Home with Stamperia. I'm going to add a little bit of blending with the same brushes without even touching the ink pads again. Whatever is left on the brush is more than enough. Again, I don't want to oversaturate the color on this layer. I want to have that design but very subtle so that it doesn't overwhelm the background. Now let's do some stamping, again the same steps that we did on the first card, but of course we are going to use the same colors of ink pad that we have on the background. Notice that again I'm going tone on tone, so cream stamping over the cream area and raspberry stamping over the raspberry area. Again, don't go for perfection, just using your fingers, no stamping block at all. Now at the splatters, I did swipe a little bit of that raspberry ink pad on my glass mat and dilute it with water. And I'm going to show you a close-up look of how the background looks at the moment. Super happy with it. So let's move on and create the cluster. Now this time I'm going to use the other ephemera pack so you can see what's included. In this one you will find doors, windows, chairs and tables. You will find tons of flowers, birds, even teapots, and pet friends including cats and dogs in different sizes. So this is what I picked for this composition. And as I did on the first card, I'm also going to bring here some decorative chips. This is the set from my collection with the clocks and I'm going to use one of them. I'm using my matte glue at the back, and again, if I'm a little bit messy, it doesn't really matter. If it shows somewhere, it's not going to dry shiny, so no one is ever going to see that. Now for my composition, I'm going with this birdhouse, and I do have some foam tape so that I can pop it on top. Then I'm going to bring in the same paper from my pad, and I'm going to choose one of those as my sentiment. And this time I'm going to use it as it is, as a label. I'm not going to separate the different lines. So I'm just going to cut it out with my scissors and also use the edge of the scissors to rough up the edges. And then I'm going to stick it down by using glue. Now the truth is that if you do have the two ephemera packs, you can come up with tons of different compositions for your card fronts. Just use different color combinations for your backgrounds along with the rest of the techniques, and then create the compositions on top. And really, by following this mixed media card making recipe, the possibilities are endless. So here I'm going to stick my little dog and the flower composition at the bottom. I also have a tiny little flower for the birdhouse. You can peel it off if you don't want to bother with that. You can just add a dot of glue, and you will see here how much of glue I did add. But again, it's matte glue. It's not going to show at all at the end. It completely disappears. And now on the previous card I did use ribbons. Let's use some ribbons on this one as well. I have all those flowers that match perfectly with the collection. You can decide which one you want, cut it out and then place it as if it is coming from behind the birdhouse. So here I did use a bluish one. I'm going to combine it with another one that has yellow flowers, but really whichever you use from this ribbon pack, it is going to match perfectly with the rest of the colors. And then finally use foam squares at the back of your panel and stick it on top of your card base, again trying to align it as perfectly as possible. And here is the second card for today, following the exact same recipe, so two different looking cards but with the same techniques. Here are some close-up photos on both of the cards that I made for today. I hope that you had fun, that you got inspired. Links to everything I used can be found down below in the description. Thank you all so much for joining me, and I'll see you all next time.